Hello and welcome to Pursuit of Perfect System. In this video, I'm just going to give you a bit of an update to where we are, what's been going on, and what's going to be happening going forward. And the reason being is because the system here, our review system, got broke down recently. If you didn't see the videos, we broke it all down really for initially to do the A/B comparison between the Furutech NCF Boosters in the system and out of the system, the A/B demonstration video for that. And if you haven't seen that video, go and obviously watch it. It'll be linked up here, and actually by the time this video goes live, the review for the NCF boosters will be on our website. There'll be the website obviously down below. Please go and see that, and there'll be a link up there again for a shortcut to that review, because the NCF boosters are really interesting products and they're going back in the system shortly. But the system and everything got broken down. Second reason it got broken down is because we had Jeff Merrigan, who's the MD for Tellurium Q, come here. We did the whole day's worth of testing of cables and stuff, and I made 2 videos for that. And if you haven't seen those, go and watch those. Obviously they're in the channel. That was a really interesting day, and I thought while things were down and apart, I took even more stuff out. I did a load of photography and video work lining up for the review for the Luxman preamp power combination, which is going to be coming really soon. And I did some other video work for other things that are going to be coming soon as well. Before I move on, I am suffering a little bit. I've got a bit of a cold at the moment. I am suffering a little bit. And obviously, if you're a female viewer, then it's man flu. And obviously, it's critical life and death situation. So please bear with me. Right, so what have we been doing and what have we got coming up? Well, yesterday, I took a trip down to Nintronics because a few reasons really. But one of them was because I was asked to spend some time with this. I don't know if you can see that. That is the Chord Electronics Dave Dac. So I'm going to be spending some time with it, and I'm going to be doing obviously a review for it. And to be honest, didn't it look cracking? Didn't it look absolutely stunning on that? I don't know what you even call that, on its kind of rack, on its shelf display. I mean, it's not something I've really seen that much up close. And I just think in the black, against the black, next to the Luxman equipment, it's almost like they're designed to go together, even obviously they're not. That is a really lovely look, you know, in my opinion. So, yeah, there's going to be some interesting stuff coming for the Dave. And you think, well, that's been out for a couple of years. Why are you reviewing it now? Well, I think with the Chord Electronics lineup, with the other DACs that they've got, obviously, in their range, like the Q-Tist and obviously the Hugo 2 TT, which comes out soon. And they announced the M-Scaler recently. Really, these are all products I'm sure I'm going to be getting my hands on, spending some time with. So, really now is the perfect time to spend some time with the Dave, because now we're hearing obviously what, you know, Chord really, it's still their flagship DAC. Obviously technology they developed from a couple of years ago, but I suppose it's how close are their other products getting to it. You know, what benefits do we get, what benefits don't we get? Plus we can use it as a preamplifier, which I'll be doing, funnily enough, to do some comparisons to the Luxman preamplifier, which will be really interesting. And I'll be testing its headphone output as well, which I've done before, but I'll be doing that again. So that's really interesting, and that's coming up. And I may do a comparison, a live comparison between that and the Chord Q-Tist with, you know, what I call pimping it up with obviously really high quality J-Cat linear power supply and isolators and stuff. That'd be really, really interesting. So we'll see on that, obviously for time. So that was one thing I went down to obviously to Nintronics for. While I was there, I got to look around there. Obviously new showroom, which is very, very nearly ready now. I mean, to be honest, I've seen it, you know, probably 3 or 4, maybe 5 times. Every time I go down there, you know, it's improved, but really it was more of a shell and building work and stuff was going on. Now it's like, oh wow, now it's like nearly ready, and it's going to be fantastic. They've got some really lovely rooms there. They've got some really good sounding rooms, and there'll be more on good sounding rooms and good sounding rooms at Nintronics new showroom coming in the future. But they've got, you know, those demo facilities are going to be phenomenal because they've got the capability to demonstrate big systems, you know, big speakers, big systems in a really good room, and they've also got more typical domestic size rooms as well. Just lovely facilities there. That's going to be a special environment, a really lovely environment to go and look at hi-fi as well as listen to it, as well as talk to really lovely guys who are really passionate obviously about things as well. And while I was there, you know, even the existing kind of showroom that they've got, to me, I love being there because it's like a little Aladdin's cave, like an audiophile Aladdin's cave. I'm always looking around seeing, oh wow, look at that, look at all these boxes, look at this, look at that. And I spied something out the corner of my eye, and the guys, bless them, have let me bring it home. Bear me 2 seconds, I'm just going to show you. Oh, this big box here. This big box is the box for the Sonoma M1 headphone system. And now recently, you know, only a couple of weeks ago at the Cam Jam show in London, I met with Sonoma, did a video for them. I actually met with their parent company, Warwick Audio, the CEO for that, and he did a little video just explaining their technologies, their electrostatic headphone technology. And to be honest, that day was a really awkward day because, I'm going to put that down, because I did a lot of filming. I was having some technical issues with new equipment I was testing out for the shows. Excuse me. I learned a lot from that actually, because I had a load of problems with it, and I've since changed that. That'll be a future video talking about the equipment I'm going to be using at shows. It's going to be awesome, but again, that's for the future. So I spent a video there, and I actually got to sit and listen to the M1 headphone system, and I listened to one song and I was kind of adjusting to the sound, and then the second song I found myself just sinking more and more and more into the music. I was like, wow, I could just sit and listen to this for hours. So I spied it out the corner of my eye when I was at Nintronics. I was like, wow, you know, I really want to spend some proper time with that. So the guys have let me obviously bring that home. And so I'll be doing a review for the Sonoma M1 headphone system. I'm really looking forward to that. But that is not all. Originally, I planned, once the system was all broken down, I planned to put it mostly back together. But I was going to actually, instead of putting back our Tellurium Q Silver Diamond speaker cables that obviously I was using just up until the breakdown, I was actually going to put in some Furutech speaker flux speaker cables and do a review for those. I was really interested to listen to those. And unfortunately, there's a slight issue with them and some compatibility with the KEF reference speakers. That sounds really strange. It's a really basic and simple thing. So unfortunately, that can't happen. So the Tellurium Q Silver Diamond speaker cables are going to be going back in, as are our NCF booster products. Now, my plan is to try the NCF boosters, kind of the clamp style version, the power ones really. I'm actually going to try and use them in different places around the system and just see kind of what reaction I kind of get to those, because I already know what putting them on certain power IEC products does. I might try putting them kind of at the plug end of things and just have a little play around with them like that and see kind of what reaction they have kind of in a less obvious place. And you know, if you want to know more what I'm talking about, I made a setup guide video for the NCF boosters, and I showed you how you can use them at the plug end, but I haven't actually tried that to know what that sounds like, because I've only got 3 of the NCF booster power, and I've used one power IEC inlets, which makes perfect sense. But because we've got a few NCF Furutech FI50 NCFs now, I can possibly get away with taking them off and moving them around. So that's what I plan to do. And I've got, obviously, as I say, the review for the Luxman preamp power, the C700U and M700U is going to come soon. And I've got another amplifier, actually one I'm really interested to try, because it's a hybrid amplifier. Now, right back at the start of Pursuit of Perfect System, I spent some time with, quite a bit of time actually, with the Musical Fidelity New Vista 800 integrated amplifier. A really lovely amplifier. It's just a lovely amplifier to live with. And that had kind of like a New Vista tube buffer stage. Now, the product I've got now is actually by Unison Research, and Unison Research are more famous for their tube-based products, their tube amplifiers, most all integrated amplifiers, and I think tube-orientated CD players and stuff. But I've actually got here their Unico 150, which is, I say, a proper full-on hybrid integrated amplifier. So we've got a tube preamplifier stage and a power and a solid state power amplifier stage, 150 watts per channel. I think the retail price of about £5,000. So that seems like a really good value product with a lot of power and that tube stage for that kind of tube sound. Now, I had a little listen to it when I was at Henley Audio, and I've got to thank actually Richer Sounds up in Manchester for really, they was kind of the catalysts for me speaking to Henley Audio and going down to Henley Audio. Filmed and made a 4-part series for Henley Audio. Henley Audio are the UK distributor for some really interesting brands, obviously like Unison Research, but also Project, Klipsch speakers, and quite a few others. And so I created a 4-part series for them. And if you haven't seen that, I'll link it up there and go and watch that. But I'd say watch that as a series, because if you watch it from the start, part 1, all the way through to part 4. It makes much more sense, and it's a really enjoyable, good quality series with a fantastic host. Simon, who's the operations manager down there, did a great job of explaining loads of things about obviously the different types of turntables that Project obviously make, and Autophon cartridges, and we spoke about clips, speakers, and lots of other stuff. Really interesting stuff. So yeah, a really great video there. So that's the plan. So what I need to do is a lot of stuff, and I need to shift this cold before I can even really start to do it. So I need to get the system back fired up and going again. I need to give everything a little bit of time to get going, and I need to give myself some familiarization time with things. Then my plan is to start putting the Dave in, and I start listening to the Dave with things as it is, because I just want to hear what impact the Dave's going to have on the system as a whole. It should technically give us more transparency and more depth to the sound. It's going to be really interesting to see how the Dave sounds compared to the Qutest with the power supplies and stuff. If you remember back to when I first got the Qutest, for me it sounded, once I've done some stuff to it, it was kind of getting me more like the Dave sound. But I didn't really have the Dave for very long. I didn't have it up on this nice thing here. I didn't have such a finely tuned system. Didn't have the speaker up on isoacoustics gyro isolators. Didn't have the new music server that we built. So there's been a lot of changes and improvements to the system since then. So technically, we're not holding back the Dave. Well, before I could have well been holding back the quality of the Dave with how the system was set up. That's certainly not the case now. It's going to be really interesting to see kind of how much it separates itself from our Qutest, and whether I'm eating my words from 6 or 7 months ago, or whether I wound up and say, yeah, there we go. So that's obviously going to be really interesting. Yeah, of course, I'll be commenting more on our Tellurium Q cabling now we've got in the system. It's a full Tellurium Q loom now. We're using, it's a full Tellurium Q analog loom. We'll be using black diamond analog cables, silver diamond digital, and silver diamond speaker cables. Now, because the Dave has the benefit of using balanced connections, so we can use a balanced connection to our Luxman preamplifier. I'll actually be using some ultra black, Tellurium Q ultra blacks that I've still got, obviously on loan from Nintronics. So again, Nintronics, fantastic guys. Thanks very much for loan of a lot of this stuff. And thanks to Tellurium Q, obviously, for loan of it as well. And thanks to Richard Sounds up in Manchester for loan of some of it. And thanks to Henley Audio for the loan of some of it as well. So, yeah, there's a lot of thank yous going out to all those companies, because without the support from those, none of this can happen. So, right, I'm going to sign off there, because as I say, I'm running out of steam. I've got so much still to do before I can even start all this. Nearly forgot an absolute gem. Now, months ago, I made a series about isolation, and I made a series about a product called the Ceradisc, which is the one I had some input in the design and thought process to it. Now, the company behind that contacted me last week and just said, "Look, Terry, for starters, we've got loads of stock in of the Ceradisc. If you was one of the people that was interested in the Ceradisc at the time and couldn't get it through lack of stock, the company now has got a huge stock of them back in." And if you're interested in those, I'd say definitely contact them, and there'll be details below this video in the description. But they sent me an absolute gem of a product. Now, we were speaking, when we was doing the design work, and I was doing the testing, obviously, for the Ceradisc isolators, we was looking at different principles and different ways of kind of draining and isolating vibration in products. And I started messing around with products underneath and obviously on top. Now, I don't know if you've kept up to date with the Qutest series, you'll see that I've used a product on top of things with a load of bearings, ceramic bearings on top. That is not a proper product. That was a makeshift product, kind of out of the kind of off parts, or the what would you, I don't know what you even call it, like the kind of, not necessarily off cuts, but we had a load of basic prototype parts, and I kind of put a few of those together and made a product that actually worked really well. Well, now the company's come up with a dedicated, proper top isolation unit for obviously hi-fi components, and it's bigger, and it's far more clever, and it should have more of an impact than what I've been doing myself. But it's also got the capability for a little bit of tuning and a little bit of what I would call pimping up by adding more to it. Now, I don't want to go into too much detail on that, purely because A, it's a prototype product, like a kind of a finished prototype product that I need to do a lot of testing on, and B, because I haven't done any testing on it, it's difficult to really talk about it. But let's just say I'm sure it's going to work fantastically well, and it should stop the problem of touching it and knocking ceramic bearings everywhere, which I've got ceramic bearings literally absolutely everywhere because I've knocked them off so bloody many times. Yeah, so that's coming as well. So there's loads of interesting content coming, and there's a few other really interesting things getting booked in now for the very near future. And before we know it, we're going to be September and October, and there's been more shows coming. So yeah, it's quite an in-depth, lengthy update, this one, but that's because there's some really interesting stuff coming. And yeah, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, never been a better time. Please and definitely go and visit our website, because I've been updating it and putting it. Well, we're putting a lot of time and effort into the website and updating it. I said there's articles going on there all the time. There's news going on there all the time. There's links to the latest YouTube videos going on there all the time. And there are reviews, obviously written reviews with some nice photos and other bits and pieces obviously going on there all the time. So I'm trying to develop Pursuit of Perfect system as a whole. And obviously if you can support us by going to the website and following the channel and all those things, it'd be really appreciated. So I'll be seeing you soon. And get shifted in this cold, get stuck back into some listening, we get stuck back into some reviewing and some recording and all sorts like we always do. And I'll see you soon. Take care.